did you know you were shot?
I did not, no.
Okay. Were you feeling anything physically?
No. There was nothing physical. I was so focused on, I have to barricade this door. And when I realized I couldn't move that filing cabinet, I still had the night lock in my hand. And so I got down on my hands and knees and I crawled the length of the door and I dropped the night lock in. And it made that like ting sound when it hit the ground. And then I went.
Talk to me about why do you say that it made a sound? Was that significant to you?
The only thing that I have to go on right now is what's happening in my space and what are my senses telling me. It just sticks.
Was there anything, could you see, smell, or hear anything else outside of your door?
There was a smell of a cat, like a cat gun might have smelled like. But I'm not going back towards the window, right? I'm just dropping that in. And then I grab the rolling cart, which is also against that back wall, and I push it, and that's what you see in front of the door.
So that piece of furniture is the rolling cart?
Yes.
Okay, and you could move that?
Yeah, it was really easy to move. It was just a push.
Okay. At this point, did you know you were shot?
No.
Okay, what happens next?
I'm concerned that he's gonna come back around to those windows. So I know that I need to hide in that room.
When you say those windows, the front ones or the back ones?
The back ones.
Okay.
In the back. So I've barricaded the door. I'm trying to make myself invisible in that space. So I go back to that large filing cabinet. I move it just enough so that I can crawl behind it.
And we can't see that here because it's to the left. So would you be able to see, would somebody looking in the window next to the door be able to see you?
No, the cabinet was quite large and it was wide. They would not have been able to see me behind that cabinet.
Okay. At this point, did you realize you had been shot?
I knew I could start to feel blood rolling down my arm. And I don't think I was admitting that I was shot, right? It's not some, it was so far out of what I knew to be what happens. And so I just knew that if I was bleeding, I had to put a tourniquet on. But I can't get back to that bag that has medical supplies in it. So I removed my cardigan that I was wearing that day. And I used one of the sleeves to tie around my arm, put part of it in my mouth and the other part in my hand, and I just tightened it around my upper arm.
Were you feeling any pain at this point?
No.
Okay. The person that you saw raise the gun and shoot at you, did you, looking back then now, what was your impression of his use of the firearm, if anything?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to that question. She's already testified she's not very familiar with firearms. I think that she would be speculating about his use of this.
I do want to acknowledge she's testified twice before, so I do know, I'm trying to, this is difficult. Even though it's her third time, it's very hard for her. And so I'm trying to get her to answer my questions. So
We'll describe
Yeah.
what you noticed about him.
His feet were about hip distance apart. His shoulders were square. And he raised that gun right up. It was probably a second from the moment that I locked eyes with him.
okay, just for the record, you're raising your arm at shoulder level. Was it two arms or one?
I don't know. I just remember seeing the one arm and my body instinctually moved.
Okay. So after you tied the tourniquet, what did you do? Were you hearing any announcements? Did you have a phone with you? Did you have a way of communicating with anyone?
I had my cell phone. There's the thing that I know to do is to barricade and listen. So I'm trying to figure out what to do next. I know that if we're in lockdown, 911's been called. There's a phone on that desk, but if I reach for it and he's there, he'll see me. And then I'm worried about what's happening in the front office. So I don't want to call up there. And I text my husband, I love you, active shooter. Within a few,
Did you let anyone know that you had been shot?
no, not at that point. Within a few minutes, I received a text message from my daughter who went to school in a neighboring district. Through social media, she had heard that there was an active shooter at Oxford High School. She said, "Mom, are you okay?" And I said, "I'm sheltered in place. I'm safe. And I love you." And I'm just listening to what's happening outside, trying to distinguish what's my next move.
What are you hearing?
Absolute silence. I'm hearing nothing.
Were there any announcements?
There was another announcement that came on at one point, and it was to remain in lockdown. There's a hallway text thread that we have that there's no one texting on that. But
You mean the teachers
Yes,
in that
in the
hallway have a group text?
Yes.
Okay.
No one's texting on that. But in the other part of the building, my language arts team says, I'm hearing there's an active shooter. And I said, I saw one.
Did you say, "and I've been shot"?
I did not say that I was shot.
Okay, is there a reason you're not telling anybody that you've been shot? Is that because you didn't want to really understand it, or?
I think that there's definitely a part of me that was in denial about what was happening in that moment. I also think that what I know is that building has to be secured to save the most amount of lives. And telling anyone that I'm shot when I'm not, when I do not need help, is not beneficial.
So you didn't want anyone to help you?
I did not need emergency medical attention at that moment. Or at least that's what I felt.
Okay. How long do you think you were in that classroom behind that cabinet?
I'm in there for about, I would say, 20 minutes. And I'm sitting on my bum. And at one point I hear footsteps in the hallway because my back's facing that hallway. And I think they're starting to evacuate those rooms. That was the decision, that was the moment I decided to text the teacher next door to me. She's in room 222. And I just said, no one knows right now, but I think I used the word hit. I've been hit in the arm. And then I did say, I hope there's no one else. She then alerted. I believe she called 911, and there was another teacher in the room with her, and he alerted the front office.
So at some point, did somebody come to try to help you?
It was pretty quickly after I sent a text message to them that Kurt News, who was our assistant principal at the time, that he shows up at my door knocking, Molly, are you in there? And from behind that filing cabinet, I said, yes. Kurt was, I've known Kurt since I started in Oxford, but I didn't trust that that was Kurt in that moment.
So you didn't want to open the door?
I did not want to open the door. It felt safer to stay in there. And then a few seconds after, there's police officers at the door, and they're like, are you injured? And I said yes. And so they asked me to, I think I said, do you want me to, I kind of like crawled out from behind, and I was like, do you want me to take the night lock out? And they said yes. Do you want me to open the door? And they said yes. And I'm still on my hands and knees at this point. They reach up for the handle. And that door swings open, and they grab me from under my arms. And they pull me up and out of the classroom. And I can see Kurt standing on the lockers, like against the lockers.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been admitted as Exhibit 11. What is that, Molly?
That's them at my door. And that's them walking me out. You can see that there were multiple police that were around that door when they pulled me out. And then the two escort me out door 4. We get outside of door 4 and the one says, I'm going to put a real tourniquet on you now. It might hurt a bit. And then,
Is that what's happening right through the window? You can see in the
Yes.
video? Okay.
and then they said, we're going to call and see if there's an ambulance available for you. We need to know if someone needs it more than you.
Okay, when you came out, we see somebody there, an officer with a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anybody else in the hallway? Were there any students?
There was no one in the hallway. It was completely silent with the exception of a walkie or two that was going off.
And what information did you have at that point about the shooter? Or did you know somebody, if they're still in the building? Did you know if there were victims? What did you know?
I have no idea about anything, but when he says, we're going to see if there's someone else, I think it was the moment that I knew that there was someone else.
When you got outside, what did you see or hear?
There's a helicopter flying above the building. There's a couple snowbanks.
Did you see any students?
There were a smattering of people throughout the parking lot. I honestly couldn't tell you if they were students or parents.
Okay. Eventually, did you get into an ambulance?
I did.
And where were you taken?
I was taken to Lapeer Hospital, or the hospital Lapeer.
Okay, and what happened when you got there?
We get to Lapeer, and I asked to walk in. I felt like if I could walk, I wanted to walk. And so they supported me to walk me into the hospital. And as I'm walking in, the hallways are lined with doctors and nurses. Like they were prepared for a disaster.
Okay. What did you learn about your injury that day?
It was through and through. It was clean. They ended up doing a chest x-ray on me in the hospital to make sure that no debris from the bullet came in. And that was probably the first moment that I cried because I felt like I had made a mistake in the classroom. And then I had actually put my life in danger. I didn't know if I was hit somewhere else.
What do you mean you thought you made a mistake?
I didn't know if I was hit somewhere else. I couldn't understand why they were doing a chest x-ray on me.
Okay. Were you released that day?
I was. My husband came up to the hospital to come get me. We went home that night.
At some point, were you informed or shown where those shots landed?
Yeah. He was aiming to kill me. Those shots were intended.
Okay. I want to
Mhm.
back up. When did you learn where those shots landed, other than you knew it hit your arm?
My husband was my nurse at home, taking care, cleaning my wound. And at some point when, I'm holding him out, I realized that's a heart level. And he was aiming to kill me.
Okay. How many inches is it from your heart, Molly?
I would say about 6.
Okay.